New report by the Washington Post reveals that Ginny Thomas, the conservative activist and the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, pressed lawmakers to overturn President Biden's 2020 victory, not only in Arizona, as previously reported, but also in Wisconsin, even though President Biden won. According to emails obtained under state public records law, Thomas emailed two Republican lawmakers in Wisconsin, State Senator Kathy Bernier, then chair of the Senate Elections Committee, and State Representative Gary Tauchen. The Post reports they both received the email on November 9th, virtually at the same time. The Arizona lawmakers received the exact same copy of the message from Thomas. The Post adds Thomas sent all of the emails through Free Roots, an online platform that allows people to send pre-written emails to multiple elected officials. Joining us now, the investigative reporter at the Washington Post behind this report, Emma Brown. So, Emma, what can one deduce from these discovered emails? What exactly was she pushing these lawmakers to do? And is there a potential she was using her influence as the wife of a Supreme Court justice to try and sway an election that Joe Biden won fair and square?
Well, she sent these emails to the Wisconsin lawmakers, as you said, on November 9th. So the context here is, 2 days earlier, major news organizations had called the presidency for Joe Biden. And the messages said, essentially, stand strong in the face of media pressure, do the right thing and, quote, choose a, quote, clean slate of electors. So sort of taking that in context, she's saying, you should take action, state legislators, to disregard the will of the popular vote and choose your own electors. I think you asked, was she using her influence? There were thousands upon thousands of emails sent via this Free Roots platform. But one thing that these new records from Wisconsin show us is that Ginny Thomas was one of the first people to send this particular email, and somebody with the same name as one of her associates sent the very first one. And, her lawyer, the House committee has sought to speak to Ginny Thomas, and her lawyer, in response to that request and in response to a really sweeping documents request from the House committee, said about these emails to the Arizona, this was back in June after we reported on the Arizona emails, said, she didn't write these emails, she didn't edit them, she merely sent them as one of many people who did. But the fact that she was one of the first to send them is interesting to me.
Well, and Katty Kay, it's ridiculous for her to claim that she was just, hanging out at home and said, oh, look at this form email, I'm going to send it along, when in fact she had been on the phone with conservative leaders, with MAGA leaders. She had been pushing hard for Kevin McCarthy to overturn the election. She had been pushing hard for Donald Trump. She'd been in the White House talking to Donald Trump, trying to get her to talk to, I forget the lady's name, who with all the wacko theories, the Kraken lady. And she was calculating, trying to figure out exactly what her response was going to be. There's emails out there where she made these decisions and thought through these decisions. And so if she's one of the first to send these emails to Arizona and to Wisconsin lawmakers, she had calculated it. She had talked about it. She was a MAGA conservative thought leader who decided she was going to ask state legislators to throw out the popular will of Democratic voters, Democratic in like democracy, to throw democracy to the side and have them select their own electors.
Yeah, now we learn that the wife of a Supreme Court justice who could one day potentially be in a position where an election suit comes before him, who knows, in 2024, and he has to rule, as they did in 2000, on which way an election might go. The wife of that Supreme Court justice has sent these emails not just to people, to elect officials in Arizona, but also now in Wisconsin as well. Emma, my question to you is, how does this play out? The January 6th committee has asked to talk to her. So far, of course, she hasn't. What's the legal process? What's the legal recourse that the Justice Department has to try to get more information from Jeannie Thomas, if she just says, no, I'm not going to talk to the January the 6th investigation, could you see her being subpoenaed at any point by the Justice Department? Where does this play out? How far does this go?
Well, I don't think we've heard anything about the Justice Department's interest in speaking with Ginny Thomas. But what we know from the documents request that the January 6th committee sent to her a couple months ago is that they wanted to see everything that she was communicating with a wide range of people, members of Congress, employees at the Justice Department, where, you know, part of the effort to overturn the election was taking place. I mean, it was just a really broad document request. And so it was almost as if reading it, you know, you wonder whether the committee almost saw her as a portal into understanding the actions of many other people. And, you know, so far, we have no indication that she has turned over documents. As I said, her lawyer responded to that request by saying he didn't see a sufficient basis for her to sit for an interview and provide those documents.
All right. All right. The Washington Post, Emma Brown, thank you very much for your reporting this morning.